Namaskar. The ocean is my heart, its pounding is my pulse. The mountains are my bones, the rivers my vein. The forest is my thought, and the plants are my dreams. The songs of the earth write the music of my soul. Dear listeners from India, the US, and rest of the world, welcome to Talk with Alokita on Radio Panipuri. So today, let's start with little introspection. How often we look at the tree and think that our whole existence is dependent on it. We all know that we exhale, what we exhale, trees inhale, and what we inhale, trees exhale. So, imaginatively, half of our lung lies on the tree. There are some of us who feel this way very experientially, and thus planting trees, taking care of environment becomes their dream. So, well, there is a man who is giving this very imagination a path, an experience for hundreds of others. I would like to welcome the man who is totally living up to his name, Parivartan, also fondly called as People Baba. Namaskar, sir. Welcome to
Namaskar.
Radio Panipuri.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Anji.
Yes, sir. So let's begin with our very first question. I know that you've been doing a lot. It will be very difficult for us to complete this in 30 minutes. I will try to ask you questions which would, give us most of how you're projecting things, sir. So Give Me Trees Trust is working on some amazing projects, sir. So I would
Yes.
rather say the organization is a beautiful tree in itself. Everyone who is involved in different projects admires the efforts. Having said that, you started planting trees back in 1977, and it's a long journey. Now it's 2020. Everything is virtual these days. Reaching people is a lot easier in a way. So, all our listeners, especially youngsters, would be glad to know more about your journey from 1977 to now. How difficult or easy was it to spread the awareness, the challenges, and about Give Me Trees? How it all started? Probably, I have this one small thing to ask. What is that one instinct you had as a child about, planting trees that never faded, and it's still continuing like a light speed? So request you to throw some light on important events that inspired you to just go on.
Thank you. First of all, this I love this name, Radio Panipuri, because Panipuri here in India we call them Golgappas, and that is one of my favorite. Uh, in fact, in our ashram and a lot of my friends in Ayurveda, they always say if you have corona and people suffering from this pandemic, they should all consume pani puri every day because it's a perfect herbal concoction for fighting against corona. So, having said this, well, coming to Give Me Trees Trust, friends, the story starts in January 1977. In fact, in 1976, I was studying in a school called Spicer's Memorial School in a place called Kirki Military Station, Kirki Cantonment. It's a suburb of Pune in Maharashtra. I was studying in the fourth grade over there, and I had a teacher by the name Mrs. Williams. Mrs. Williams was a Seven-Day Adventist missionary teacher, and she came from Sri Lanka to teach us to teach in the school. It was a small elementary primary school. So she was a class teacher in the fourth grade and in the fifth grade. She would narrate a lot of stories on birds, bees, and butterflies, and she would talk about forests. She would talk about rivers and mountains. She would talk about the depleting ozone zone. Uh, Even in 1976, 1977, she would tell us a lot of stories of traffic jams and the kind of rising levels of the ocean and tsunami. And we had never heard about tsunami, because tsunami was not, you couldn't even imagine what a tsunami would look like, not till recently, 10 years ago, when we actually experienced one. So she was almost like Nostradamus. She would, and each and everything that she said in 1976, in 1977 has come true, because in these 43 years of my working life with trees, I'm at the age of 54 now, and it's been exactly 43 years that I've been planting saplings, I've been planting trees. I always say that I plant saplings because to create a tree out of a sapling is the work of God. It is the work of nature. I can only look after it. My team, my volunteers, my community, our collaborators, our partners, we all can look after the sapling for 3 years. We do a forestation project or a forest site. We can look after it. We can take care of it for 3 to 5 years. But to actually create a tree out of a sapling is a work of beautiful engineering. It's a beautiful bioengineering. It's the work of God. It's the work of nature. It's only nature who can do that. Okay, fine. So it was the date was 26th of January 1977, and I walked up to my teacher and I asked her. We had a Republic Day parade that day, and I asked her, "Ma'am, you keep telling us that the world is heading for disaster. You keep telling her," and she would talk about heat island effects. Urban heat island effects, and these the terms which used, we had we could never imagine that we would be using these terms in the coming years so much. And she would talk about pandemics, she would talk about epidemics, she would talk about rats. uh, Today we say bats, they are spreading the disease, and she would say, you should be careful about rats, you should be careful about diseases coming from the ocean. She was so right. She was so right. She was so right, our teacher. And she was one of my biggest inspirations, and and the motivational, uh, the reason why I got into sapling plantation. And one day on 26th of January, she said that, look, there is nothing much you can do. Nature decides what it wants to do with the world, but what you can do is uh, increase the tree count of your country, increase the tree count of your planet, increase the tree count of your neighborhood, increase the tree count of the forest around you, increase the tree count along the rivers, increase the tree count in your parks, in the children parks, increase the tree count on your highways, increase the tree count on on campuses, in schools and colleges. So whatever you do, try to increase the tree population of this country. You know, and the message was so clear that it became the mission of my life, of my teammates, of my volunteer army, which we call as Give Me Trees Trust. And it became the soul and the guiding principle to increase the tree count, to increase the tree population, and that too of indigenous plants, not of ornamentals and exotic plants and just for show and, uh, just because the plant looks visually appealing. No, indigenous, what we call as a native plantation. So this became this thing. It was on 26th of January at about 3:30 p.m. I came back, and just like my teacher, my grandmother, हम उनको झाईजी बोलते थे. We used to call her झाईजी, and she was my maternal grandmother. And my granny, I told her that my teacher is saying that I should start planting trees, and the objective of my life, that she said that everybody can become an engineer, anyone can become an MBA, anybody can become a chartered accountant, any Tom, Dick, and Harry can become a doctor or a lawyer. We need people who can take care of the earth full time. Now, full time taking care of the earth, planting trees, increasing the tree population. Well, and just imagine, my grandmother says she's absolutely right. And there were two women who gave me this inspiration. And then I shared the same with my mom. My mother also said the same thing. And she said that, there are enough doctors on the planet, there are enough engineers on the planet. I think the planet needs a full-time tree planter. And that was it. That was it. So on that day, I bought 9 saplings from the nursery. My grandmother gave me 25 paisa. At that time, 25 paisa was a big currency, like it had great value. And I went to the market, and we to the nursery, and we bought 9 saplings. And those 9 saplings planted on 26th of January 1977, the first day when I ever planted saplings in my life as a little kid of 10 years old, 11 years old. They still survive, all the 9 plants, all the 9 saplings. The first sapling I planted was of a banyan tree. Then there were 2 peepal trees. One was a jamun tree, 2 were neem trees. And then the journey began. The next day it was 26 trees. The next it was 53. Then I went around digging uh, around, and the journey started. Ah,
Yeah, so that's a very inspiring narrative, sir. I mean, rightly said that anybody can become doctors, engineers, but it's very important that somebody has to take care of Earth as well, and that has to be a full-time job. Uh,
yes.
Similarly, sir, in India, there are, some people who are single-handedly protecting the environment by planting hundreds of trees. Somehow I feel that, like you said, your grandmother, our farmers and our grandparents who belong to the older generation, they have some
Yes.
kind of
Yes.
connection with the nature. They do know the
Yes.
importance of plants, rivers, soil, and how everything is interconnected. So we can call them like a self-taught environmentalist, probably. So, yet, in spite of all this awareness and many international and national conferences happening each year highlighting the importance of environment, yet there are many people who are untouched with the whole idea of planting trees. They deeply undermine planting trees. They feel that it has nothing to do with protecting environment. So, can you explain to all our listeners about how planting a tree can save our rivers, soil erosion, and how we
Yeah.
need to protect it? Probably the young
Okay.
generation who does need to
Yes.
understand
Yes.
this
Yes.
correlation.
In 43 years, I learned one thing, that 90% of the people don't understand the importance of trees because they have no connection with nature. They are so business minded, they are so commercial oriented, because for them, environment also is a big business. You look at the governments, you look at the, because it's not a priority. It's not a priority because any government or any country, you know, they, except for a few countries like probably Norway, Sweden, uh, Germany, Bhutan. Bhutan is one very good example where people talk about happiness index, they talk about a health index, they talk about uh, what the next generation is going to have. But most of the countries I've seen, and sadly even my own country, uh, not that, not that people are not aware. People are aware. Huh? People are aware. It's just that um, it's just that they don't understand the seriousness of the whole thing. They just don't understand the seriousness of the whole thing. Until the time you have actually worked with the soil, you worked with the plants, you worked with the environment, you work with ecology, you work with ecosystems and all that. So then you understand that we are heading for real danger. 3 years ago, very interestingly, 3 years ago, in one of my first TEDx talks, I mentioned that my grandmother used to tell me. Now, this is something, just hear me out. This is something very interesting. My grandmother in 1997, 98, she used to say, the world will come to an end in 2020. It will start to end and it will end in 2030. And then I would say, Nani, why are you saying this? She would say, you just see, you just see. And a lot of uh, old people used to tell me the same thing. Even Mrs. Williams in 1977, she said the same thing, that 2020 to 2030, you will see that there is going to be a complete annihilation of the Homo sapien race. Only 10 to 15% population will remain. And that too, those living around the rivers, those living around the forests, those living in farmlands near the fields, people who are growing their own food, people who are into permaculture, people who are into living around the forested areas, on the fringes of the forests, and people who are living among tree clusters. Only that civilization, only that part section of the population will be alive, and the rest will be annihilated. Now, this is something very interesting. Now, your question was that why people mm, why people don't take this thing seriously, and in spite of awareness and everything. I think it is one thing is our education system. We don't give enough weightage to, if I have my way, I would make this subject, ecosystems and environment and agriculture and farming and looking after forests, a compulsory subject from grade 3. You need to catch hold of the children in the 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade. I was one who was taught by my teacher, was motivated by my teacher in grade 4. So 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, the most sensitive years of your life, when you are not being psychologically trained by society to become an engineer, to become a successful man, to be a money making machine. That is the time. 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade students, because they are the people who will be the future civil servants. They will be the people who will be the future environmentalists, the future farmers. They will be the people who will save the planet from the kind of, see, not that my planting trees will save the planet, nor so many people in India doing good work, they can save the planet, nor hundreds of other organizations working on the planet will save the planet. But at least we are making an effort. At least we all, in the goodness of things, all the good people need to come together, and they need to do the right things, right? So I think it is about a lot about political will, because everything is possible if we are able to, as a community, bring the right people into the governance, and right people, because I feel the governments are like a housekeeping organization. If we vote for them in the right way, and we take services from them, rather than thinking that they are gods and emperors and they're kings and all powerful people, and they are dictators and everything. No, but if we get the right people in the policy making departments, though, so I think there is always hope. I'm very positive that things can be worked out. But yes, we need the right kind of political will for this thing. And if till the time the political will doesn't come in, I always tell my friends, I tell my volunteers, I tell my community and thousands of people who follow us, you are the government. Always point the finger at yourself and say, I am the government. Okay, this is my land, my river, my air, my water, my mountain. This is my forest, this is my tree. I will do whatever I can, whatever within my resources, within whatever I can afford, I will do, and I will do the right thing. And the rest, leave it to God.
Rest will happen. Yes, sir. I mean, that's how everyone, each one of us is, equally responsible. We need to participate. We should not depend on government to do it. Rightly said. And also, sir, one part of my question was like the interconnection between, in one of your videos, I guess I happened to see that there's a connection between river soil erosion that's happening with planting of trees. So if you explain it beautifully,
Okay.
because people will
Okay.
understand it. Yeah.
Okay. I'll very briefly.
Sure.
See, remember one thing. Very simple. Trees are the umbilical cord which binds us to the existential system with which the whole planet operates. ये हमारी नाभि है. It's the umbilical cord, that the way a child is bound by his, gets nourishment from his mother, the same way the planet, all the 5 elements, they come through because of trees. It's because of trees we get rain cycle. It's because of trees we get the underground water. It is because of trees there is soil. It is because of trees there are a lot of wind systems. It's because of trees the habitat for 1.5 million species. And remember one thing, most important thing for you to understand, we came onto the planet as a Homo sapien race just about 10,000 years ago. If you understand this one thing, I think you have understood everything. Trees, plants, vegetation. We call it the green consciousness. Here in yoga, we call it the Vanaspati Chetana. The human consciousness is Manushya Chetana. And the vegetative consciousness, the green consciousness is the Vanaspati Chetana. This is 400 million years old. So naturally, they are much wiser than us. They were here much before us. They are the ones who created the planet. They did the cooling. They have seen the ice ages. They have seen the dinosaurs, the forests, the Amazon, the Siberian forests, the Polynesian islands, the equatorial island, the rainforests. They were here much before us. They have created all the elements. You know, आज ये जो हवा है, the oxygen, the water, the oceans, the river systems, the mountains, the glaciers, the snow, everything has been created by nature. And trees, हम यहाँ पर जैसे like in India we call it पेड़ों की सरकार है, पेड़ों की सरकार है. It's the government of the trees, you know. So if you go against the government of the trees, well, then you are in trouble. You know, you are in trouble. You can't be jumping the rules of the government of trees. So ये जो पेड़ों की सरकार है ना, ये जो government of trees जो है, ये इसको you have to respect that. And it is because of this government, ये जो पेड़ों की सरकार है, it is because of this that you and me, we are talking today. Oxygen, there is nothing which can produce oxygen except for the planktons in the ocean, the green matter, chlorophyll, photosynthesis, and everything. 99.99999% is all because of the trees. You and me would not be sitting here talking if these trees are not there, you know. So and because of these trees, the river systems are there. Because of the tree, पेड़ जो होता है, tree is a magnet for water. It is a tree canopy which brings in the rain. It is a tree canopy which will get the rain cycle going. It is the trees which keep the temperature controlled. It is like the thermostat. Planet's thermostat. It is all because of, we talk about global warming. You increase the number of trees, you see how the temperature comes down. So simple. People say that cut down on the factories, cut down on industries, cut down on biofuels, cut down on this, cut down on petroleum, cut down on diesel. Look, be practical. How can you cut down on all those things? Can I take away the air conditioning from your room? Can I take away the laptop from you? Can I take away the smart from you? Anything man-made, remember one, anything that is man-made creates heat and pollution.
Yeah.
Anything man-made creates heat and pollution. Anything that's natural absorbs heat and pollution. So you need to, man-made items, natural items. You need to increase the items. You need to increase the population of the natural items. Okay. So that is how the global warming can be taken care of. You need to have at least 40% of the planet under tree cover. You need to have 40%. Okay. There is a term called trees outside forest. Okay. I have been using this term for the past 20 years. Now I hear that this term is being used in United Nations and USFS. It's being used in America. Trees out of forest. I've been talking about this for 22 years. Reserve forests, wildlife sanctuary, national parks. This is the role of the central government. It's the higher authority. Where the community can get involved is the urban forest. Urban forest means urban greening. The urban green canopies that we can create. I always ask my volunteers through Give Me Trees Trust, we always tell them, you have a balcony, make it green. You have a terrace, make it green. You have a lawn, make it green. You have a park in front of you, have shade trees over there. Increase the leaf count, increase the green content, increase the number of trees around you, increase the chlorophyll around you. The more green that you have, okay, it will be healthier for us. Tree is a standing ventilator, ma'am. It is a standing ventilator. You don't have to go to a hospital and take ICU into the intensive care unit and put oxygen masks over there. If you go under a banyan tree, if you go under a peepal tree, it gives you more oxygen than a ventilator. You know, so whenever we used to fall sick, my grandmother would always say, go take the, उस वक्त तो कॉट्स होती थी, तो कॉट, you take a cot, चारपाई, and you lie down under a neem tree and a peepal tree, and you sleep over there, and you will see that everything will be okay. Means you'll be healthy, you will feel healthy. In 3 days time you will feel healthy. So these are the standing ventilators. And today what we are doing, we are chopping down pieces of land, we are chopping down the forests, and we are clearing the land, and then we are laying the foundation stone for hospitals, where we pay for the room, we pay for the doctors, and we go and pay for the ventilators. The ventilators are already there, right? So trees are directly, they are responsible for our wellness, our spiritual wellness, our emotional wellness, our psychological wellness, our physical wellness. It is not just about oxygen, it is about the whole being. In Japan, we have forest bathing. You go to a forest, you take a walk in the forest. I'm sure in US, you have such beautiful parks. I keep watching on Google videos and everything. You have beautiful national parks and everything. So you go to these parks because you get close to nature. The vibrations of the trees, the aura of the trees, it's so healing. It's so healing. Why can't we understand? We don't need doctors. We don't need health infrastructure. You need forest infrastructure. You need tree infrastructure. A very interesting thing. You should do research on this, and you should even carry out a program on this. Most of the people who have died in urban areas in this pandemic. People living in tribal areas, people living in deep forests, people living on the fringes of the forests, hardly anybody got corona. Hardly anybody was infected with COVID-19. And even if they were, nobody died. Nobody died. So only us who are living in concrete jungles, from here you can understand. So trees are magnets for good health. Trees are magnets for it's पेड़ है तो सब कुछ है, कहते हैं ना, जंगल है तो मंगल है. The moment we understand this, they are so important. And my grandmother and my Guruji, I studied briefly in a Gurukul, and he would always say, there were no temples over there, and he would always say one thing, that प्रकृति ही परमात्मा है, परमात्मा ही प्रकृति है. ये जो पत्ता घूमता है, ये पत्ता is the evidence, is a certificate that there is God. Just see the bioengineering. It keeps you alive. It is because of this leaf that you are alive. You are eating it, you are thriving on it, and the whole, the entire, the Homo sapien race, and even the 1.5 million species, it's all because of the trees over there. So that is the importance of trees, And ma'am, it is not about environment. I never introduce myself as an environmentalist or as an activist. I'm a survivalist. We are talking survival, man. We are not talking environment. We can't we see we are heading towards annihilation? And what are we? We as Homo sapien race, ma'am, I can assure you, we are just a small little species. We are like 7 billion cockroaches running with laptops and smartphones in our hands all over the planet, thinking that we are doing something big. Something big is coming our way. Even एक चमगादड़ ने, एक बैट ने पकड़ के हमारी सबकी सिटिविटी गुल की हुई है, सबकी पानी पूरी बना के रखी हुई है. I think if we don't realize this, then God save us.
Yes, that is survival. I mean, there is nothing beyond this. It's survival. So maybe we are heading towards my last question, because you mentioned about COVID-19. सबकी बैंड बजा के रखी है. Sir, अभी COVID-19 है, so most of them lost their jobs. So do you think it's opportunity for everybody to get into planting trees full time until you get it on with the economy. Probably, do you have any such
It's a
projects for
golden
that?
opportunity. This is a golden opportunity. Leave industries, leave factories, leave these businesses. Go back to your land. Go back to your land. Go back to farming. Go back to agriculture. Go back to your villages. Go back to your countryside. Grow your own food. Get into animal husbandry. Learn it from YouTube, learn it from courses, learn it from digital courses, whatever is available. Get back to the land. Get back to your elements. Get back to the person who lives off the land will never, ever, ever face recession. You need to get back to the land. We need to get back to what we were. Even India, जैसे हम हिंदी में बोलते हैं कृषि प्रधान देश था. It was an agriculture superpower. It was an agriculture superpower. 87% of our employment came from agriculture. It is not just about trees. It's not about just forests. Forest is just a part of the thing. It is the entire greenery. It is the entire greenery revolution. It is the whole, the green content, as we say. It includes vegetables, it includes agroforestry, it includes social forestry, it includes pisciculture, the fish culture, the poultry, animal husbandry, livestock management, it includes farming, agriculture, hydroponics, aquaculture, anything that's related to chlorophyll, anything and everything that is related to leaves, anything and everything that shows respect for the soil, anything and everything that shows respect for the land, the soil, the air, the water, you will never be harmed. And you will always be a happy person. You will always be a prosperous person. And you will be wealthy in the truest sense. And you will be, that is what real success is about. I think success means happiness and good health. If you have good health, and if you're a happy soul, you're a successful man. Who cares whether who has millions and billions of dollars? Just look at these hospitals. Even millions and billions of dollars are not able to give them back their lives. So I think health and happiness should be, and health and happiness will come if we respect nature, if we respect our water, we respect our soil, we respect our trees, we respect our forests, and we get back to farming, we get back to agriculture. I'm not saying that everybody go back to agriculture and farming. No, all I'm saying is if you have an opportunity, do it. And don't get your children to become doctors and chartered accountants, and don't waste their life like that. Get them back to the land.
Yes. Absolutely. So, sir, on that note, I would like to conclude that let's return to our lands. Let's start something which is related to the land. And of course, it's a matter of survival. Let's realize this as soon as possible. And definitely, we would
we
like
need to realize that we have a very short shelf life.
Yes.
My parting small little message to people is always calculate. My grandmother taught me one thing. On the refrigerator, on the cupboard, write down how many years are left. Like I'm 54 years old. So she would say that, okay, suppose your shelf life is 60 years. So how many years are left? 6 years. 6 multiplied by 365. How much does that calculate to? It would be about 1850 days. So I have about 1850 days to live.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is the best I can do? Do I buy shares? Do I buy investments? Or I really enjoy life and I spend time with the soil, water, air, and my loved ones, my friends, my family members, and have a good time. So my parting this thing is that please remember we are all temporary over here. Our shelf life, we do so much of online shopping, और हम लोग हर चीज की एक shelf life ढूंढते हैं. हम अपनी shelf life भूल जाते हैं. We always forget that we have a very limited shelf life. So if we understand that, so whatever shelf life is left with you, if you respect nature, you will have a happy and healthy shelf life then.
Yeah, it was lovely talking to you, Parivartan ji, and I hope I will catch up with you on many of your upcoming projects. And I mean, we are temporary. We have a short self life, so we need to just work it out and do the best we can for the nature. Yes.
Lovely talking.
Thank you very much for joining, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.